Hi everyone, Vicky here. I hope you're all well today. This is my hop for the Team Tiny Thankful hop. We'll be making this lovely little card, which I'm showing you here, and I really hope you enjoy the video. So we're using the Lawn Fawn Let's Go Nuts set. And then it's going to be a slimline card, which I've cut the focal panel with a small slimline from Lawn Fawn. And then I've also used just a piece of green card and the honeybee hill borders to do the border for the grass. I've stamped my images with my favourite things extreme black, and then I'm going to get on with some ink blending. So squeezed lemonade, pumpkin, crackling fireside, and I can't remember the name of the burgundy one, but I did show you it. This has been sped up quite a bit because the blending does take me quite a while, so I didn't want to be doing too much blending while you guys were watching. So I'm just using my brushes and I'm starting with my lightest shade at the bottom. I will keep bringing in my little green hillside just to check how high up I've actually gone, to make sure that some of the yellow at least will be visible. So I'll move from the yellow to the orange to the darker orangey red. I can't quite decide whether it's meant to be an orange or a red. And then the burgundy is literally just for a tiny little bit around the edges. I do apologise as well if it is a little bit bumpy. Just my filming setup for ink blending specifically is not the best. I have tried every table in the house and it just doesn't seem to make much of a difference. So you will see, to do the blending, I will go backwards and forwards between the colours and build to try and get there nicely. You can probably also tell from my accent, I am British. So this will be my take on a Thanksgiving card. Obviously we don't celebrate Thanksgiving in the UK. However, I do think, given the current climate across the world, it's important to be really thankful for what we do have. And I know that despite all the craziness going on in my life at the minute, I'm incredibly lucky to be in the position I am. I can work from home. I still have time to do all the things I love, and you know, I can still talk to my loved ones even if I can't see them. The UK is completely locked down again until December now. But you know, as far as things go, there's a lot to be thankful for. So I just wanted to share my rendition of thankfulness with you guys. I'm actually making this for my best friend because she is my rock in so many ways, and she keeps me sane with random little video gifts and stuff. So it was just a nice way of saying thank you to her. So that's who's going to be getting this lovely card when I'm finished with it. The ink blending is nearly done. As I say, just going backwards and forwards with the colour just to try and get it as smooth as possible. I'm also going to stick down my hillside with just some wet glue, and I will be putting that to the side while I do the next bits of this, just so it can dry. I actually put a cookbook on top of it to the side, which you don't get to see, but I do put a cookbook on top of it just to press it down and make sure it's really firmly stuck down, because the last thing I want is for anything to come flying off at any point. So while that is drying and setting, I'm going to get on with my colouring. I am going to show you all my colouring here, sped up to 2 times speed. And all the colours, I will show you the pens as and when I use them. For most of them I'll use all 3 shades in the TriBlend. A couple of them I only use 2 shades. But while I am doing my colouring, rather than telling you how I'm colouring, because I have got lots and lots of videos on here if you want to see that, I just want to give you a quick little heads up about Team Tiny, who this hop is for. So Team Tiny is a group of craft YouTubers. We all have under 1,000 subscribers, which is great because it means you can watch all our videos without any interruptions or adverts. So we do hops that are tag driven. So this one is obviously Team Tiny Thankful Hop. So if you click on that tag, you will be taken to all the other great contributors to this, and you'll be able to see their takes on the Thankful Hop. I took part in the Halloween hop as well, and I obviously had so much fun watching the other guys' videos once I'd done mine. They are some seriously talented people, so I would seriously, if you can, go and check them out. If you have found me through the hop, then hi, welcome. I do try and put at least 2 or 3 videos up a week where possible. So hopefully you are enjoying this, and if you do like, please do hit the like button and subscribe. It means a hell of a lot to me. So I really would appreciate it. With the colouring, back to the video that we're doing now. With the colouring, the leaf pile at the bottom and the acorn pile, I have already coloured another one of each of those, and I've also, on the set you'll have seen there are a couple of individual leaves, so I have coloured I've coloured both of the piles another time each, so I've got 2 piles of each, and then I've coloured about 20 individual leaves in different shades to match the shades that I use on the actual leaf pile, because I wanted to use those kind of for decoration, but I didn't think you wanted to sit and watch me colour 20 individual leaves, so I sanded those before I started the filming. And I also just remembered I'd missed those 2 acorns being hugged by that very sleepy little squirrel. I absolutely adore this stamp set. I don't think there's actually another word for it other than adore. It is super cute, and I really like it. The squirrels are all just so happy and adorable, and there are some other squirrels in this set that I didn't use on the card because it would have been a bit too crowded, but they will definitely be getting used soon. But I had to use the one with the little wagon, and the sleeping squirrel was adorable. They do kind of remind me of me and my best friend, because quite often she'll end up a bit sleepy by the end, and I'll be prodding her along and dragging her along to get her to do things, and she'll usually cheer me on while I do crazy things like the leaping squirrel. So all in all, I think they sum us up pretty well. For the pile of leaves, obviously it's an autumnal scene, so I wanted to make sure that the majority of the colours were variants in oranges, yellows, reds. I do throw a purple in there and a green just for good measure, because sometimes even green leaves do fall off some of the trees, very sadly. Poor little trees. It looks so nice at the beginning of autumn, and then once they've all gone brown and they've been stood on a few times, it's just nowhere near as pretty. So these leaves are still at the very pretty stage, I've decided. I think I'm nearly done with that pile of leaves. Going in with my little purple. I do love that purple. It's my favourite purple blend of all the different TriBlends that there is. So it tends to be my go-to one for the purples. In relation to Team Tiny, if you do have the time to go and watch the videos, they're all between about 10-15 minutes. Some might be ever so slightly longer just with editing, but obviously we want to make sure you get as much nice content as possible. There will be around 15 videos. So if you've got a nice cosy autumnal evening planned in, you can sit yourself down and have a nice little watch and see what obviously everyone else comes up with. There is no giveaway specifically for the hop or on my page, but I would check out the other ones, because some people do offer incentives and giveaways on their channels, so there may be a little surprise hiding in there. I don't know, I can't say for definite, but definitely worth having a little check just to see. So the squirrels, I'm doing 2 grey squirrels, so this is going to be the darker of the 2 greys. I'm trying not to put too much shading to them because I don't want them to be really dark. Obviously with alcohol markers, the colour does get knocked back a little bit as it dries and the alcohol evaporates into the air, so he will get a little bit lighter, but he's the darker of the 2. And then the sleeping squirrel is going to be the lighter of the 2 grey squirrels. I always tend to, when colouring animals, use the brown grey shades and blends rather than the ice grey. I just find they're a little bit warmer, so they just kind of look a little bit nicer for animals and critters than the ice greys, but the ice greys are amazing for things like shoes and metal. I've got a lovely watering can stamp that I love to colour with the ice greys because that looks really nice. So I'm taking the earth brown blend, which is the lighter of the 2 earth browns. just to colour in on this one. Again, I'm just trying to make sure I get shading roughly where I think it is. I won't pretend that I am the best colourist in the world, because I'm not, and I openly and honestly admit that to anyone. I have definitely improved while I've been locked down since the pandemic started, and I invested in my markers. Definitely improved, but I think I could do with learning a little bit more. But I just always put the darkness where I feel like the folds would be, or where shadows would be in general. And to me, they always look about right. I'm sure if you shone a light on an actual squirrel, the colouring's probably not that great, but we're not going to go up to a squirrel with a torch anytime soon, so for me, it's brilliant. And as I say, the TriBlends do blend very nicely as well, which is really, really helpful. While I've been embracing the being thankful side, I'm just going to cut these out with my dies. And also, I'm now going to show you my sentiment. So I'm just using my Misty just to get that lined up. I'm actually going to heat emboss it onto some black card with white embossing powder. So I just need to take my anti-static bag and give that a good wipe all over the card, because I don't want any powder where I don't want it to be. So I'm just using my clear embossing ink just to ink that up, and I'm giving it light presses, but a couple of them, rather than pressing down once really heavily. I've found that works better when you're using embossing powders. And then I'm just going to put a piece of scrap paper underneath, and there's my wow opaque white embossing powder. So I'm just going to sprinkle that over, and it'll stick to that pigment ink beautifully. I do really like heat embossing. I think there is something incredibly satisfying about it. I think it's just the joy of watching the alchemy as the powders melt and it gets all shiny. I think it's something I saw on TV once and thought, I need that in my life. So it was one of my... Actually, it wasn't one of my earlier craft investments, but since lockdown, it was one of my earlier ones once we locked down, and I decided I wanted to do more card making. So that's that all done, and I'm just going to cut that out with scissors. They're not perfectly straight, but I actually quite like that. So I've popped all my die cut images into just a little ramekin, so I didn't lose them as I was cutting them. So there's the main squirrels, the little squirrels, lots of leaves, lots of acorns, and as you can see in there are lots and lots of leaves. So I've popped some foam tape on the back of the big squirrels and the sentiment, but not on the squirrel that's going to go into my little wagon, because if I pop him into the wagon on foam tape, he'll kind of be sticking out of it a bit weirdly, and it wouldn't have quite worked. So on the right hand side of my scene, I'm going to have one squirrel pulling the other who's asleep, guarding the nuts, and the rest of the nuts are on the floor. Then on the other side, I'm going to have one of the squirrels encouraging the other to jump into the huge pile of leaves that someone's evidently just spent ages raking, but oh well, I didn't have to rake them, so I don't mind. So I'm going to put my sentiment in the top right just to balance out the squirrel that's jumping on the left side. So I did originally think about having the sentiment all as one big panel, but I quite like having it as two thinner panels, just with that pop of colour coming around behind between the two lines. I think kind of just makes it look a little bit nicer and a little bit less chunky in your face. I can't think of the word. There is a word that I'm thinking of, and it'll probably come to me at 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm asleep, but never mind. So I am going to leave my little squirrels in place just so I know where I'm sticking my leaves. I'm going to put those down with glue, but I am just putting them down very, very gently so that I can then give them a proper stick down once I've got them exactly where I want them. That's one of the joys of using a nice wet glue. So that's that down there, and I'm just going to put an acrylic block on just to make sure that sticks. You will see me struggle with foam pads. I don't know what it is, but me and foam pads, just as much as I love using them, they just never seem to peel as well for me, so I do apologise for the slight craziness of my foam pad peeling. So that's that little squirrel jumping just nicely. He's going to land right in the middle of the two piles, which is awesome. perfect dive, well done squirrel. And then the other one's just going to have, when I get the backs off, just be stood at the side cheering him on. You'll see coming up on the left there is a tiny little patch where my inky finger got some red ink in the yellow, very annoyingly, but I'm just going to pop the other squirrel to cover that up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop some glue onto my wagon, and then I'm going to use that. I'm sorry if it's slightly off at the bottom of the page, I'm really sorry. I thought that I had it angled slightly better, but I think I must have knocked my camera. So you can just see me at the bottom there, just trying to get that balanced out to put everything in. And then I am going to put glue all over the back of it now that I've got my nuts and my squirrel in there. And then I'm going to use the squirrel that's standing just to balance out exactly where he should be. And I think it's so adorable that little squirrel's just fell asleep in his little pile of nuts. I just think he's so adorable where he's asleep. I've seen some beautiful cards with that image on. The other pile of nuts I'm just going to pop to the side as if they've all been knocked out by that squirrel jumping in. They do overlap that panel slightly, but I'm not too worried about that because what I'm going to do is just trim that down before I attach it. I'm actually using, it's a picker that I've got, that little pink stick. It's actually one that I use for diamond art. I don't actually have a picky uppy tool or a sticky picky uppy tool, so I just use this and it seems to do the trick. So I'm just trying to lay the extra leaves out and about, just roughly where I want them before I get around to sticking them down. And then I've realised I need to put my other squirrel in place properly, otherwise I'll end up putting a leaf where I don't want one. So I've just popped him down, and then I'm using a teeny tiny drop of glue to stick the handle of the wagon into his hand, and then I'm just going to pop some more acrylic blocks on there to keep that in place until it's sorted. So then I am going to just pick up these leaves, pop a drop of glue onto the card base, onto my focal panel base, and just stick the leaves into that. I've found this is easier than trying to hold the leaves, put some glue on the leaves and then put the glued leaf into place. I just find that doesn't really work for me. I am also going to add a couple of loose acorns because I did a few extra. I originally was thinking of having the wagon at the other side and the acorns kind of trailing where they'd fell out, but I think I preferred the layout this way around, which is why it's laid out this way. I'm just trying to make sure I don't put any two leaves that are the same colour too close to each other either, and obviously make sure I don't put any green leaves on the grass, or any leaves that are a certain colour too close in the sky to that colour. But that's the panel sorted. So I've covered my card blank just in some black paper, and then I am just using more foam tape to give it a bit of extra volume and lift that up on there. I'm just going to centre that, and that is actually the card finished. I am super pleased with this card, I'm not going to lie. I've really enjoyed making it, and I am very, very thankful for my best friend. So she totally deserves this card. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, so please, please, please do hit like and do subscribe if you have, and also follow the rest of the fabulous Team Tiny Hop. Bye!